Ever wonder what actually happens after you hit submit on that job application? Well, there's this whole hidden world of screening that kicks into gear, and today we're going to pull back that curtain and see exactly how it works and, maybe more importantly, why it exists in the first place.
So, to really get why all this screening is so intense, we have to start with one big question. I want you to forget about the typical movie stuff, hackers in a dark room or corporate spies in a trench coat. What do you think is a company's single biggest security risk?
The answer, it's probably not what you think. It isn't some attacker from the outside. Nope, the most dangerous threat is often already inside the building, with a keycard, a password, and full access to the network.
Right, the threat from within. In the security world, they call this the insider threat. And honestly, preventing this one thing is the main goal of the entire workplace screening process. It's all about making sure the people you're trusting are actually, well, trustworthy.
So if the threat's already on the inside, how in the world do you defend against it? You build what's called a human firewall. And the very first brick in that wall, your first line of defense, is a solid background screening.
So what is it, really? When you boil it all down, background screening does two main things. First, it just verifies that you are who you say you are. Pretty simple. But second, and this is the big one, it scans for any potential red flags or risks that could cause a lot of damage later on.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. This is not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. The level of screening, how deep they dig, is actually carefully customized to the specific job you're applying for.
I mean, think about it for a second. Should the janitor who has keys to the entire office get the exact same super intense background check as the chief financial officer who has all the company's bank codes? No way, right? The level of risk is just completely different.
And this lays out the logic perfectly. For a role that's considered lower risk, like our janitor example, the company's probably going to stick to the basics, a criminal history check and verifying your identity. But for a high-risk role, like a CFO or maybe an IT admin with the keys to the digital kingdom, they cast a much, much wider net. They're going to dig into credit history because, let's be real, serious financial pressure can be a huge motive for fraud. They'll verify every educational degree, and they'll do some deep dives on your references. It's all about matching the intensity of the screen to the level of potential risk.
Now, this whole process isn't some kind of free-for-all. It's not the Wild West. There are some really strict legal rules in place to protect both the company and you, the applicant. So let's talk about the rules of the game. Okay, from the company's perspective, a huge driver for all of this is avoiding something called negligent retention. It's a legal term, but it basically means a company can get into massive trouble if they keep an employee around after they find out that person is a risk. This is a really powerful reason for them not just to screen people when they hire them, but to act if new troubling information pops up later.
And for you, the applicant, one of the most important protections out there is something called ban the box. These are laws popping up all over that stop companies from asking about criminal history on that very first application form. The whole point is to make sure you're judged on your skills and qualifications first, before a mistake from your past can automatically knock you out of the running. It's about a fair shot. So what if something negative does show up on your report? Well, you have rights. If a company decides not to hire you because of what they found, they are legally required to send you something called an adverse action notice. This notice has to tell you what they found, and it gives you a chance to see the report for yourself and, crucially, to dispute anything that's wrong.
All right, so we've covered the what and why of screening before you get hired. But the biggest change in this whole field, the thing that's really shaking things up, is the fact that for many jobs, the watch never ends.
So let's say you did it. You aced the interviews, you passed the background check, you got the job offer. The whole stressful screening thing is finally over, right? Wrong. For so many critical roles these days, getting hired is just the beginning of the screening process.
Welcome to the world of continuous vetting. This is pretty much the new standard, especially in high-security jobs. It's this ongoing, often automated monitoring of employees for new risks that might show up after they're already on the payroll. And what's really wild is what these new systems are looking for. They're scanning for behaviors and situations that are potential red flags. We're talking about things like sudden unexplained wealth, or an employee who suddenly seems really disgruntled or is acting strangely. Maybe someone who starts working at bizarre, unscheduled hours, or new signs of major financial trouble. Any one of these could be an early sign that a trusted employee is on the path to becoming an insider threat.
And this brings us to the big, crucial question at the end of all this. This constant evolution, going from a one-time check to non-stop monitoring, it forces us to ask something really important. In a world with constantly changing threats, where exactly do we draw the line between what's necessary for security and what's an invasion of our personal privacy? That, right there, is the challenge we're all facing.